Here we are, episode number 2. Me reading parts of this book, ADIYOGI, The Source of Yoga by Sadhguru. So this is episode 2 or part 2. I haven't gone through and underlined like passages that I want to read, but I will do that with books in the future. Just right now, I'm just gonna read a couple pages, maybe comment on it. And if you guys are curious, you can leave your comments down below and I'll reply to the comments and we can have a conversation about it. So let's get started. Let's do this. Okay, so the first video, I just read the first page, that's it. And so, I don't know. We'll start with page number 2. We'll see how it goes. Page number 2. And yes, in the future I will work on better lighting because this room has terrible lighting, and I'm even gonna change rooms or whatever. Anyway, page number 2, ADIYOGI. Let's do this. Why not a book on you? Well, that's a good question. I say in a flash inspiration, a book on a living yogi. Having written Sadhguru's life story, I know there is much of his ambiguity, I don't know what that word is, so I'm gonna skip it. Unimaginably eventful inner life that remains undocumented. That's true. Sadhguru's life is very I don't know, it's almost like sort of secretive. They don't document a lot of it, you know? He tells little stories of his past, and when he was doing really intense yogic stuff, initiations, not initiation, what do you call it when they like put energy into consecrating spaces and objects. They could have a whole book just on, or a series of books just on that. It's really fascinating stuff. It's like sort of tantra, maybe, like not Western tantra as Western people, European people know tantra. It's not that. It's the original tantra, which is like at least a few hundred years old, if not way older, in India. And it's kind of like yoga. It's like yoga, but before yoga. Anyway, back to the reading. Let's do this. Okay, where was I? So much of Sadhguru's life is undocumented. Why not a book on a living yogi, right? He's the world's first yogi. Oh, talking about Shiva or ADIYOGI. The only yogi. The rest of us are just his sidekicks. I decide I've spent enough time on diplomacy. I plunge into argument. There's just too much Shiva in the air. It's an epidemic. Calendar art, television, serials, pop literature, science fiction, he's everywhere. At least in India, he is, like South India. Here you don't see much of it in the West. Why keep harping on our ancient heritage? It's all too zeitgeisty, too, what's this word? Revivalist? Oh, revivalist. Let's let's talk about something here and now. We don't need another book on Shiva. He's here and now, Sadhguru says quietly. I pause. He's my 50% partner I do in everything I do, Sadhguru. I can hear my cat having chewing on something, which is fine. He's my 50% partner in everything I do. I have heard Sadhguru say this before, but this time it seems less rhetorical. After 12 years around him, I'm not only entirely unused to the enigmatic nomadic utterances of a mystic. I might have that word wrong. Sadhguru's deepest insights, I've discovered, are invariably tossed off mid-sentence and in parenthesis, or as a throwaway line in a conversation. The remark is so casual now that I sense gravitas. I grow alert. Metaphorically, you mean? The question stays unanswered. He's here and now. He's here and now. I repeat. He's my life breath. And that is, I suppose, when I give in. It's not that I understand what I'm getting into, but I console myself with, hello, kitty. I console myself with simple logic. While he can be infuriatingly unreasonable on occasion, Sadhguru still remains the most interesting person I know, which means his 50% partner can't exactly be tedious company. So he's saying Shiva must be interesting, or sorry, ADIYOGI. He's saying ADIYOGI must be interesting, or something like that. I guess I shall continue to page 3. Don't mind my terrible reading skills. I'll get better at it as we go on with the series, and maybe other books, possibly many other books. I'll get better at it, more comfortable reading on screen in front of a massive audience. I've always had not been the best reader, but I'll get better. Okay, let's do this. Page number 3. You guys ready for page number 3? Yes, you are, hopefully. And so this is a book on ADIYOGI. But it is not as simple as that. Let me explain. This book is not an exercise in scholarship. Neither is it a work on fiction. Instead, this book is, for the most part, a kind of spiritual stenography, in short. Anyone know what stenography means? It's another one of those big words. I'm not great with big words. Stenography. If anyone knows what it means, write down in the comments. In short, a living guru becomes a channel or conduit for Shiva or ADIYOGI. That makes sense. That I get. I could go into that one too a lot. A really good guru is like a channel for energy, or in a way like a channel for God, or the universe's like sacred energy. The guru becomes your gateway to that energy. Alone, like by yourself, you can't, it's very hard to access these types of energies, you know, without dedicating like 3 hours, 4 hours of meditation a day. Without doing that, it's very hard to access these higher energies, these realms, you know. So that's one of the jobs of a really good guru, is they become the middleman. They become the channel, the middleman. Of course, Jesus famously said, or at least in this day and age, people think that he said this, and he probably said something similar to this thousands of years ago. I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one goes to the Father but by me. So I think, in my humble opinion, I could be totally wrong, and it depends, like everyone has their own beliefs, that's absolutely fine. But in my humble opinion, he was saying, like, I'm the middleman, and I can help, you can access God through me, like I'm the middleman. I know that might make many people very angry that I'm saying that he's basically like a guru, you know, like the job of a guru. Actually, I could say so much on that, but I'm not going to get into it right now. Anyway, everyone's welcome to their own opinions, and yes, now I have no idea where I was, but let's find the spot. Okay. A living guru becomes a channel or conduit for Shiva or ADIYOGI. A channel, it's a question. A channel, the word can be disconcerting. Disconcerting. I'm aware. Yes. Let us return to the word later. Yeah. For now, let me qualify that while it was not based on conventional research, the library was certainly an important source of material for this book, except that it was a mystical library, not a material one. Okay. I think what he's saying there is, he's saying that some people have access to like the Akashic records or mystical libraries or like mystical internet. Some people can kind of tap into that, you know, advanced people, or people with just, you know, they have magical skills. But usually it's very kind of advanced people. They can just tap right into it, or they have certain chakras like fully turned on, fully open. People can do it, you know. There's a internet out there full of all the information of all the ages, and it's like, it's energy, you know. Anyway, so I think that's what he's talking about here. Except that it was a mystical library, not a material one. On his annual sojourns to Mount Kailash in the Himalayas, Sadhguru seems to replenish his already considerable understanding of ADIYOGI. So Mount Kailash in India it's one of the most sacred places in the world, and they say it's the abode of Shiva, where Shiva lives on top of that mountain, Mount Kailash. It's also one of the most mysterious mountains in the world. Like, no one has ever, like, 12, like, if only a handful of people have ever reached the top, I think, or even maybe no one. Not sure exactly on the statistics. I think the Chinese government at some point sent like a troop to like figure out what's really going on there, because it's not as high as Mount Everest. It's like half the height or something. And but no one can escalate it. No one can climb it. It's mystical. It's guarded by some weird mystical barrier or something, and everyone that tries to like send teams of people to climb it and escalate it and get to the top and put flags on it, they always report things like they all get really sick and they have to turn back. They start aging rapidly, and there's all sorts of wild stories about it. But basically no one can climb it to the top. They get messed up and they have to turn back. Some people say they hear voices inside the mountain. And then some people say that they start aging rapidly or getting really, really sick, and then they have to turn back, and then they get better. It's weird. It's very interesting. So this is Mount Kailash. Those are some of the negative stories of people that try to get to the top. There's also millions of, I don't know about millions, but there's lots of stories of people that have all these other weird stories close to and around Mount Kailash. I think Sadhguru mentioned something about when he was really sick and burnt out, he went there, and all of a sudden he took a piece of like the mountain's information or energy or magic, and he got totally well, even aged backwards a few years, and he was like fine, 100% good, and he was like dying. Anyway, he has wild stories on that. I could be wrong about that, but I remember something about that, I think. Anyway, so Mount Kailash is extremely famous in India, known as the abode of Shiva. It's also famous in Tibetan Buddhism. In Tibet, it's another god, another huge god figure, I think, or the same one, I'm not sure. But they see Mount Kailash as one of the gods that lives there, one of the main big god deities. Let's try to finish this page, and then we'll call it a day. Okay, Mount Kailash. I want to go there one day. 100% I want to go there one day. Mount Kailash, like, it's like people talk about the Himalayas being the most extremely mystical, most magical place on earth. There's many places you can stop that are on the winding roads that are like little temples, and like places that are like consecrated with mystical energy. And there's also many spots if you climb through the trails and paths in the Himalayas where they're like extremely powerful yogis or extremely spiritual people like died in certain areas, and their energy is still there. So if you go to those spots, and there's many of those spots in the Himalayas that are accessible. I'm not even talking about the unaccessible areas. There's tons going on there, mystically and spiritually speaking. But the areas that you can access for the common traveler, there's many areas that has these energies that you can go and you can feel it and you can like touch it. I haven't been to the Himalayas, but that would be awesome. One day I would love to go. Man, that'd be amazing. Okay, we shall continue on. Where was I? Mount Kailash in the Himalayas. Sadhguru seems to replenish his already considerable understanding of ADIYOGI when he goes. Sadhguru has he treks the Himalayas and Mount Kailash like every year, and it became like a thing where you take 50 people or 30 people, and I think he's still doing it. He used to do it alone for like 20 years, I think. I could be wrong. If you guys have information on that, you could always Put it in the comments below. Okay, let's finish this page. Back to the book. All right. His life and his work. Talking about being in Kailash. And so it is not a coincidence that many of the conversations that provide fodder for this book actually unfolded on a journey to this enigmatic mountain in Tibet. Okay, so Kailash is in Tibet. That makes sense why it's in their Tibetan religions. I could say so much about Tibet, but let's leave that for another time. Other reference points where the yogic tradition and the already sumptuous resource of India myth. But even here, it was Sadhguru who played the dual roles of medium and yogi. And for him there was really no contradiction. One role was a seamless extension of the other. For yoga, he often says, it's not for him an acquired knowledge system. It is the wisdom of his marrow, his bloodstream, and internalized wisdom. The mode by which he received it was not instruction. It was a transmission. Yeah, so it came from some sort of he honed in and it got transmitted, like a satellite dish or something. That's the right bad analogy. Anyway, an ancient mode of spiritual pedagogy. I don't even know what that word means. Anyone know what that word means? Pedagogy? Anyway, that makes him a living archive, except that this is a man who is incapable of being trudged or pedantic, trudged or pedantic. I don't know if that word. Anyway, for me, he is always a reminder that mystical wisdom can be recognized by how lightly it is worn. Interesting. Yeah, that sounds like a Sadhguru thing. He's just like totally cool, normal, everyday dude, like goes for hikes, wearing jeans and sunglasses, and yet he's like there's this like insanely like high level, like enlightened, like force of nature. Anyway, he wears his with the careless panche. I don't know what that word is. I'm not reading it properly. With which he drapes his hand-woven shawls. I am not spiritually educated. He is often retreated. I don't know what that word is also. Okay. I don't know any teachings, any scriptures. All I know is myself. All I know is this piece of life, absolutely. I know it from its origin to its ultimate nature. Knowing this piece of life, one knows by inference every other piece of life. So he knows human life, existence, and animal, plant life, rock, water, air life. consciousness, planet consciousness. This is not sorcery. This is science. The science of yoga, available to everyone who cares to look inward. I don't want to stop reading. It's so good. Okay, I'll read a little bit more. We're on page 4 now. And if ADIYOGI is the primordial yogi, the first yogi, supposedly 15,000 years ago, he was here. And even Sadhguru, his sidekick, what does that make me? For the most part, I was just a stupefied scribe, vaguely aware that it was a privilege to be present as a unique mystical download took place. I use the word unique with care. Let me say at the start that I'm uncomfortable with tourist brochure idiom. The sticky superlatives of propaganda, whether commercial, political, religious, but there is no doubt in my mind that Sadhguru's utterances are on Shiva add up to an unusual document, strange but unique. But first, let's map the terrain. Shiva, or ADIYOGI as Sadhguru prefers to call him, in accordance with the yogic tradition to which he is heir, has been seen as the divinity of the world, wild, pagan, undefinable. He is apparently older than Apollo, the Olympian god of the Greeks, with whom he shares several characteristics as healer, archer, figure of beauty, harmony and light, symbolic of the sun, contemplation and introversion. He seems older too than Dionysus, the other Greek deity. Dionysus, the other Greek deity who shares many of his characteristics as the god of ecstatic delirium, dance, libido, intoxication, disillusion, protector of the freedoms of the unconventional, divine conduit between the living and the dead. Shiva has been seen as supreme godhead, folk hero, benevolent boon bestower, shapeshifter, trickster, hunter, hermit, cosmic dancer, creator, destroyer. It's everything. A lot. It's a lot. It's everything. Like, it's a lot of things, you know. The epithets are endless. However you pronounce that word. Epithets? I don't know. Like I said, I'm terrible at reading. When I was a kid, I couldn't even read at all. Like, it took me like a couple years longer than the average person, or more. A few years. Anyway, I'm reading now. Sort of. Okay, where was I? The epithets are endless. There's there is no dearth of literature on Shiva. There's no shortage of literature on Shiva. Dearth, D-E-A-R-T-H, dearth. Whatever word that is. He has been, I have a feeling if I keep doing this, I'm going to learn a lot of words. This is a little bit wordy. He has been the subject of passionate pains by the saint poets of India down the centuries. He has been the subject of esoteric texts and metaphysical treatises all over the subcontinent. I think the subcontinent actually means South India, when South India is where she was most. He's more in South India, I think. I could be wrong. In recent times, he has been fictionalized, re-mythicalized, sometimes boulderized, boulderized? That's another word I don't know. New Ageified. That's true. But oddly enough, he seems more in vogue than ever, even though he's like essentially the first like deity ever that we have a history of. He's the oldest deity that we have history of on the planet that we know of in the history of any. I think there was a place, maybe Gotepi or whatever the fuck it's called. Not that place, but another similar place where they dated it back to 5,000 years old. I think was it 5,000, something like 5,000 years ago, and they had like a stamp, and it was called the Pashupati stamp, and it was this like ghost town. I think somewhere in India, upper India maybe. And they dated it to like 5,000 years before Christ, I think. Or 5,000 years before now. I'm not sure which one it was. And the Pashupati stamp. Pashupati is one of the names of Shiva. And he was in a yogic like position on the stamp in like rock. And they're the oldest, so it's the oldest like god symbol that's like recorded in, maybe, who knows, right? And they say, I've heard that he's supposed to be around 12 to 15,000 years ago. Shiva, the person, the yogi, was a person at that time. Anyway, I think we'll stop there. So it's end of page 4. End of page 4. I have no idea if I'm gonna actually just read this whole damn book, but because that would take like a million years. But yeah, I think I'll put more like highlight parts and read the parts I highlight, because this is a long wordy book. But we'll see how it goes. Also, I want to do a lot of like video reaction type videos. I think that's gonna be my main thing, is like video reaction. Not that I'm gonna react a lot, but take interesting videos and watch them, and then pause and comment and have the viewers comment. That's gonna be one of my main things. But I can do it with books too. Books are great, right? Maybe not as entertaining as videos. Videos are more entertaining. It's more like a conversation between more people. Anyway, so that's it for now, folks. If you got any value or entertainment out of this, like and subscribe and hit the bell notification if you want. So that was episode 2. Next will be episode 3 or part 3. Have a good night and namaste.